Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 37, and it is also part 7 of how to execute lease options the right way. And so I know in the first 6 episodes on this specific topic, we've actually gone through quite a bit, and I got a lot of messages from many people after yesterday's episode going, oh my God, that was a lot of numbers coming at me at the same time. And also, simultaneously, I was getting messages about what about this? What about that? What are the considerations? And so today I figured before we move forward with leveraging a spreadsheet to actually show you a lot of how those movements work, I want to once again focus on the thought process first and answer some of those questions, just so that we can align, be on the same page. And that way, when we move forward and finishing up this entire topic in a few more episodes to come, you are very, very clear about how to make those decisions. Because again, I call these business decisions because they are business decisions. Why? What are business decisions? First of all, I want to make sure that everybody understands this. From season 1, really, from day 1 of even season 3, episode 1, I've always been talking about the fact that we are investors first and foremost. Okay, and what that means is we have a financial goal that we want to achieve through investing. And then we chose real estate as our asset class and main vehicle so that we can create multiple sources of income and wealth along the way. And so what that really means is, if you really think about it, this is literally just business 101. And we've discussed this in the previous episodes already, which is, as a business, our goal is to make a profit. Okay, our goal is to make a profit. However, at the same time, what I've really learned over the years, and you may have heard some other people say this too, is the fact that there will always be decisions that you're going to have to make when situations and challenges arise. Or sometimes it doesn't even really have to be challenges. Okay, it just means that there are circumstances that are happening. And maybe you forecasted, maybe you have not really thought about it. Regardless, the idea is every time something like that happens, you're constantly working within a spectrum. And what is that spectrum now? Obviously, we know the idea is to soar, to take off, to scale, to grow, and to make money. So that's really the goal there. However, when something happens, again, most of the times when something happens, it means that you probably need to throw some money at it to fix the problems. And that's why we always say that if it's something that money can solve, you don't really have a problem. And so once again, that spectrum is maximizing profitability or maximizing your profit. And the other end of that entire spectrum is what we call minimize your losses. Okay, so maximize your profit or minimize your loss. And so that is really the spectrum that we are looking at here. And that is basically what I mean by business decisions. And so I got a couple of questions that really jumped out, because some of these we will definitely go over them, wrote them down by hand because they came into my DM. And so first thing first is money in the buy, because some of you really took it to heart. And I keep saying that's one of the main rules. So even though it is a tenant buyer first scenario, does that mean that we forego the golden rule of always make money when you buy? No, the same rule applies. And that's why they're called rules. And that's why, we have priorities. These are all guiding lights. And when you start to put them all together, it doesn't matter which particular strategy or property type or which market that you are actually in, they should all be considered on the same level. Okay. And so what I mean by that is, some people are asking, well, what happens if I manage to negotiate for a better deal at purchase? What do I do with that? And so if you remember, this is the first question that we have. Okay, so we said the current maximum purchase price is $586,000. Okay, that's today. And so as a result, when we were analyzing the deal in the previous episode, we were using 586 as our purchase price. Now, what happens? What happens, let's say, even if it's not a whole lot, you manage to get an actual purchase price, okay, of 580K. Now, the other thing also is, some of you picked up on it. You need to make sure that even at the maximum purchase price, your fair market value should be ideally bigger than 586, which means you should already have money in the buy, or at the very least, 586 not only represents the current maximum purchase price. If you forgot how we got to that number, make sure you go back to the previous episodes and review, okay? This is very, very important, because otherwise you're going to be losing money in the buy, which is not how I'm teaching you, which is exactly not how you should be proceeding with this, because that's left for the amateur emotional buyers, okay? So coming back here, fair market value needs to be at the very least equal to, if not greater than, the 586 already. So just for argument's sake, let's just say that 586 literally is the appraised value. That's how you get the actual fair market value most of the times, because that's what the bankers and that's what the lenders actually look at. So that's typically how we know and find out exactly what that number is. And so let's just say that, for example, today you managed to negotiate it, or better yet, your power team. And who on your power team? Either your wholesaler or your trusted realtor on your team has managed to actually negotiate for this property at 580. Now what? Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 different scenarios. So that's spectrum once again. Okay, I believe in providing you with a spectrum so that you can really think about what aligns with you the most. So I'm just going to give you 3 today. The first one is, I have people that go, you know what? I took the time. I invested money, time, energy, basically every single resources that is available at my disposal so that I can educate myself and build my power teams and learn the strategies and come up with a system that I can follow. So every last penny that I negotiated with every single deal should come to me. So again, some people believe in that, and that's great. And so what that really means now is, on the actual deal analysis, I'm going to take you back a little bit, okay? Take you back a little bit. On the actual deal analysis, your option to purchase price actually does not change, okay? Your option to purchase price actually does not change in this scenario. What would actually change? What would actually change would be your cash flow calculations. Why? Because if you're buying it at $580,000 now, which numbers does it actually affect? Well, first thing first, it's going to affect your pity payment overall. However, really, the changes and the impact happen right here. Because by definition, when you lower your purchase price, let's just say that all the mortgage terms, rates, and times and amortizations that you've chosen stay the same. Lower the loan value, the lower the mortgage payment. Okay, so I think that one's probably easier to understand. And so as a result, your cash flow will go up. Okay, and then what other number is going to get impacted directly? It will be the initial investment. Why? Because your down payment on a lower amount will also be lower, which means your profit at closing or at sale is going to be higher. Okay, so I need to bring it up to here. So what that means is this number will actually be higher, and then what that means is your overall profit is higher, and thus changing your return on investment. Okay, so I want you to just really think about that thought process. So I know we're only changed one number, and yet you can see how many moving parts there are. And so hopefully you are following that thought process, because I'm going to move that onto a spreadsheet in the next few episodes. And I'm actually getting the feeling that I might be extending this specific topic a bit by about 1 or 2 episodes, because some of you have actually sent me live deals and you want me to take a look at it, or even just for case study purposes. Okay, so I will do that because I feel like that's really the true value here. What is happening? Because this is still theory. At the same time, when you have a real life deal, feel free to send that over to me so that everybody else that's learning this can benefit from it. And as you know, I will always keep your information, the deal information, private and confidential. I'm just going to focus purely on numbers and some of the questions and the thought process that I would have as I'm going through it. Okay. And so that is really the first consideration there. Now, the second consideration is the fact that, you know what, maybe you are one of those investors like me. We value transparency and integrity. So what that means is, usually when that happens, I've already communicated the $580,000 purchase price, maximum purchase price currently with my tenant buyer. So they're expecting that. And yet, when I manage to get it down to 580 in this case, I will actually go back to them and go, hey, you know what? What we're going to do is we've managed to negotiate for another $6,000 off, which means it's actually $6,000 below market value. And so what we think is fair is that we're going to go halvesies on it. So 50-50, which means what we'll do now is, instead of using $650,000, as our maximum, as the option to purchase price, what we can do, and this is just one way of doing it, okay? So what we can do is we're going to take $580,000, if you can see that, okay? We're going to add the $3,000 back in, because the extra $6,000 that are off, 3 comes to us and 3 goes to them, which means they are getting a $3,000 discount. So instead of 586 as the starting point of the value of this current home, it's actually 583. So that reflects the 3,000 discount that they are getting. And so we discussed the fact that we were using 3.5% as the average market appreciation. And so we're going to do the math forward now, because before, to get to the $586,000 mark, we did the numbers backwards. Okay. So forward means you take out 583,000 multiplied by 1.035 3 times, compounding. So times 1.035 times 1.035. And so as a result, their new option to purchase price, as you can see, instead of 650,000, it's about 646 and 382. If I were you, I would probably still round it up to 646,500, just so that it's a lot easier for deal analysis and the numbers are a lot cleaner. Okay, because right now this is going to be very challenging for everybody to work with. And so on that note, what that means is, if they are still coming up with the 10% total option down payment against that number would actually come down. If you decide also, this is now a decision within a business decision we're making. You can actually say, you know what, because the new option to purchase price is 646,500. 10% of that now translates into $64,650. And so as a result, even if they come in with the same initial option consideration, okay? Even if they come in with the same initial option consideration, what that means now is their monthly option consideration is actually lower. And what does that impact now? That will impact your monthly cash flow, and it's going to go down by a little bit. At the same time, though, it actually will not overly impact your final calculation on return on investment in this particular case. The purchase price will, However, not that portion. Why? Because this is also another sub question that a lot of people ask. Many of you watched it a couple of times as I suggested, and you already figured it out. However, the total option consideration portion is basically a wash. However much you collect is however much you give back out. And so as a result, from a percentage perspective, because it's net zero, so your ROI is actually not impacted just because your cash flow has gone down. Your ROI is impacted simply because of the fact that the overall option to purchase price has changed. Okay. And so that's another way of doing it. And I would highly recommend that if that is the way you do it, because that's the way I prefer to do it, is to share the wealth. As you can see, it doesn't matter if it's with my OPM or with anybody that I work with. It's always about working together to get to that final goal. At the same time, though, what I would typically do instead of what we just walked through, I'm going to give you another perspective here, which is I would actually still fix their option to purchase at 650, and I was still, sorry, I will change the option to purchase, but I would still fix the 10% now. Instead of 10%, fix the total option consideration as 65,000. Why? Because at 65,000, okay, and the option to purchase, maybe I should write this down. 646,500 at 65,000 in total option consideration. That means at the end of the lease option program, when they're qualified and choose to exercise their option to purchase, they have actually more than 10% right there. So it gives them a little bit buffer. It gives you a little bit buffer. It's still safer for everybody. Okay, and what that means is if they've over contributed, that's turning into their final down payment. What that also means is their loan amount is a little smaller, which means maybe not by a whole lot. However, once you tag on the CMHC or mortgage insurance on a smaller number, the overall debt that they're taking on is smaller, which means on a monthly basis, they might be saving a few dollars too. Anything helps. And again, the point is you're strengthening the entire deal that much more throughout the entire process. Okay. And then the third perspective, I know it sounds like I've given you a lot already. However, remember, given the spectrum, this is now the third spectrum. So the first one is somebody will go, nope, I'm going to keep everything. And then the other one is going to go, no, I'm going to share 50-50. And the third one is actually fairly straightforward. They will just say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I am basically just going to redo the entire math because I really want to help my tenant buyers. If I buy it for 580, I'm going to redo the entire deal analysis based on 580,000 so that I can sleep better at night and I feel like this is the right thing to do. And so again, as you can see, the three different perspectives, there's no right or wrong here. These are all business decisions because I don't believe that the people that are saying, I'm going to keep all of that discount for myself is greedy. I really don't, because the logics and the thought process, in my opinion, they check out because they did invest in themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the knowledge or the skills or the experience or the team and the process and the systems that they've set out in place to help these tenant buyers successfully change their life and help them achieve their goals. And so on that note, that is that one. And the second question that I got here that I thought was really interesting is the repair and maintenance part, because I did touch on that very quickly. At the same time, you got to remember, oh, one of your favorite charts here. One of the things that we do here is, if you remember, they are owners, okay? And I keep saying homeowners in training because most of the times what happens is investors, they will say that, well, if you currently have a mortgage on your principal residence right now, and a window breaks, a light bulb burns out, a toilet gets plugged, maybe there's a small leak coming through, do you call your bank and they'll send somebody to come out and fix things? Or do you need to call the relevant professionals to come and help you out to fix those issues? Well, the answer is fairly clear, right? And so if you really, really 100% stick to the idea that this is 100% homeowners in training, we are the alternative lending solution when all the institutional and traditional lenders are saying no, we say yes, then absolutely. Now, under the option to purchase agreement, what a lot of the investors will do is that they will set up, my opinion on that is I call it kind of like a sub-insurance co-payment. So what that means is, for those of you who might be wondering, oh my God, what is that? Like, that sounds like a very big word. If you have ever bought insurance, or if you've ever had to discuss any sort of insurance coverage, whether it's for health, for properties, or for cars, or for anything else for that matter, you understand that there is always a deductible amount every time you start a claim. And so as the landlord, as the investor helping our tenant buyers, what you can do is you can actually decide, A, if you're going to pass through 100% of all maintenance and repairs to them, or B, which is what the majority of us will do, which is set a maximum limit, okay? Set a maximum limit. So for example, any repairs and maintenance issues per incident, if it exceeds, let's say, over $1,000, then your tenant buyers are responsible for the first 1,000, and then you will take over from that point forward, okay? So that could be for any issues. And the reason why we do it that way is simply because, and I'm just using that as an example, because sometimes you will buy higher value properties in higher value neighborhoods or markets, and that number probably will change simply because of the quality of your tenant buyers. And again, it all comes back to the strength of your tenant buyers. The strength of every single lease option program, every single lease option deal is highly dependent and almost directly related to the strength of your tenant buyers' ability to be the homeowners in training and eventually becoming the rightful homeowners. And what do I mean by that? Is the fact that if after they pay $1,000, they're going to be late on their lease and option payment the following month, then you know you're not setting them up for success. Okay, I want you to really think about that. And so that's the discussion that you also need to be having up front, not when it happens, not when it's just simply black and white, okay, black ink on your contract. You got to discuss these things before you actually implement them and walk them through, you know, the pros and cons, simply because of the fact that this is why so many homeowners, they allow their properties, their principal residence, to go to the crappers, because they don't have the ability, after debt servicing and taxes and insurance payments, they have very little to nothing left to actually take care of the properties. And sometimes the repairs and the maintenance are actually the more expensive expenses at times. Okay, so on that note, I hope that that gives you some light there. And as I mentioned, I will be putting everything onto a spreadsheet moving forward tomorrow, so that you can see how quickly the numbers change based on the business decisions or even the market conditions change. So with that said, thank you so very much. I know this has probably been quite content heavy, and I know a lot of you are enjoying this. Some of you are going, oh my goodness, I have to come back and rewatch these few episodes a few more times. Whatever it is you got to do, you know I'm here. Ask the questions you need to ask. And this is one of my favorite strategies. And as a result, because of knowing how to leverage this really, really well, it allowed me to actually acquire, as I mentioned, my very first deal in the US back in 2013. And so on Thursday evening, June 29th, I'm going to be doing part 2 of that presentation, sharing it as a case study with everybody. And also, the way I look at creative financing is simply knowing a lot of different strategies. And because each strategy is like a tool in your toolbox, the more tools you have in your toolbox, the more effective and more efficient and more, most importantly, as an investor, profitable you can make your deals. Because after all, remember, good deals can be found, great deals are structured or constructed in this particular case. So I'm going to share that link for registration for June 29th, and that's basically 2 days from now. So make sure you come and join me for that particular session. On that note, thank you again for sticking with me and watching my Daily Dose with Tim. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be productive, be good, learn lots, continue to learn and implement. Have a great day. I will see you back here at the next episode. Live well, everybody.